water, usually trout are going to be close.
There you go. Hell yeah, dude.
Sometimes goldfish is better. That's a decent sized one. Yeah. Don't forget that for one of my transitions. Yeah, sometimes dead is better. That's a good looking fish. Yeah. Even. Good looking one. Yeah.
Sometimes that is better.
It's a Mackinaw? Oh, nice. Sweet. Right on. Oh yeah, that's what we're after. Nice.
There we go.
A bobber and a minnow. Yeah. Decent sized one too. There we go, bobber and a 30-second ball hit minnow. Chunky bro. How's it feel? Yeah. It's a brown? No way. Oh, nice brown. Oh! Skilled release.
All right, ladies and gents, I want to take a quick break from the video to show you what's going on out there. I'll start with the rods and reels I'm using out there. This is a 7'6" ultralight spinning rod with a 1000 series reel. This is a katana rod, which is specially designed for throwing these ultralight mini jigs and minnows. And the reel I have on here is a Shimano Vanquish 1000 SSSP. Really, really nice rod and reel setup. It's ultralight, literally. But it has enough whip in it and backbone to throw these really light baits. But still be able to handle, really, really big fish if we happen to get lucky and get onto one. For line, I have on here 4 pound Sinister Strand premium fiber braid, and because the line has a color to it, I run a invisible fluorocarbon leader. I use Runkle Power Fluoro in 5 pound and attach it with a double uni knot. Now, typically, my leader length will be usually around 5 to 6 feet. Sometimes I'll go the length of the rod, but usually around 5 to 6 feet gives you enough room to work with, and more than enough room to make this bait a little bit more presentable, so the trout can't see this bright braid. The next rod I was using for vertical jigging is a much heavier version. This is the same rod I use up at Pyramid. This is a 9'6" Akumo Salilo light salmon steelhead rod. So it's a much heavier rod than the katana, but when you're considering fishing for salmon or steelhead, it's a very, very light rod. So it's a moderate fast action. So moderate means it has a very soft tip. Fast usually means it has a stiffer tip. But this one's kind of in between, has a lot of backbone, and it's able to throw these heavier 1/8 to 1/4 ounce SuperTubes. And these are the tubes we were using to vertical jig with. The reel I have on here is another Shimano Vanquish SSSP, but this one's bigger. It's a 2500 series reel. But the retrieve rate on it and everything is very similar to the 1000. And it works really, really well on when you're throwing these bigger baits for these bigger class trout. For line, I have on here 8 pound Daiwa J braid. And again, it has this green tint to it, so I run it up to a fluorocarbon leader of 8 pound Runkle Power Fluoro. And when I'm fishing this rod with these, usually after the Lahadans, real big fish that like to roll a lot, I will time my leader length, the length of the rod. So this is a 9'6" rod, so I use about 9'6" a leader, just because it gives it a little bit more room if these big fish decide to roll. I have more leader to work with, and the leader has a little bit of give to it where the braid doesn't have any give at all, and it can absorb some of the shock of these bigger fish when they fight. Now let's go to the bench, and I'll show you all the baits that are working out there and how we're rigging them up.
All right, guys, here's some of the baits that were working out there for us, and on this trip, it was a variety of things we were catching on. Initially, we started off, the idea was to go after some monster browns and Mackinaw, which are in that lake. So we were using these SuperTubes to vertically jig for them. So usually the Mackinaw are deep water fish. They're related to Arctic char, so like the real cold deep water. And they're on the bottom, so we drop these jigs down and just vertical jigging. So we just pop them up off the bottom and let them sink. And keep doing that process, and the fish will come up. And that's basically how Mark caught that big brown. It just came off at the last second. And these are the same SuperTubes we use up in Pyramid Lake for the big Lahatan trout. This one's a new one that GSF put out. It's a Rainbow Trout. Really, really cool looking color, and the fish definitely eat lots of rainbow trout if they're small enough. So this is a really, really good color. I think is going to work really, really good. And then some of the mini jigs that we're working. I know you've seen Go Shrimp lately. That one's a real hot color. And then Root Beer is an older color that works real well. That's the one Esty caught that big rainbow on, is this one. Really, really good colors to use. And then as far as the Spartan minnows, these were the two that were working the best for me. We got good old GoldFish and Gold Pearl and Brown. And I imagine that in that super clear water with the sun high in the sky, the way these things are, the colors are, they're real shiny. I imagine these were putting off a lot of flash in the water when they were jigging around. So I think that's why those were working so well. And then up here is a weighted bobber. or they have rattle bobbers, which is essentially the same principle, just this one doesn't rattle. It's got a little lead ring on the bottom, so you can cast at a good distance, but the bobber still will stay above the surface of the water. The rattle bobbers are little plastic bobbers that just have little bits of bird shot in them, so also they have the weight, and when you move it, it rattles a little bit. I haven't noticed, though, however, with the rattle bobbers and these type of bobbers, that one catches more fish than the other. They seem pretty equal, so lots of times I'll just use a weighted bobber. And how to fish these, I'll show you in the next segment exactly how I'm working these back. Now here, these are the weights that go in the tube jigs and the ones we use for the Spartan minnows. And these, I call these ball head jig weights, and these ones I call tube jig weights. The smaller ones are 1/32 ounce, and then the bigger ones are 1/16 ounce. And typically we use the 1/16 in deeper water like this lake has. We're on right on a drop off, and it drops off significantly right there. So we want, typically the fish aren't going to be right on the surface, they're going to be a little bit further down. So your 16th ounce is good on a steady retrieve, as it will slowly go down in the water column and then come back up, so you can get different columns of water. The 30-seconds, typically we use those in shallower water because it's easier to keep them from getting stuck on the bottom. But when the fish kind of get finicky, after we were catching them on 16ths for a while, they got finicky, switched down to 30-seconds, started catching them again, because you can work these much slower and work in pauses, and a lot of the times the fish were hitting on the pause. So that's why it's good to have different weights for the same baits, whether it's the Spartan minnows or the mini jigs, or even these SuperTubes, because it'll make the baits do different things at different depths of water. So it's always good to have different weights, because the presentation style may be the only thing that's causing them not to bite. It may be the right color jig, but the wrong weight in it. So you change to a lighter weight or a heavier weight, and that may be all the difference. Now I'll show you real quick how we rig up these tube jigs. And all you need to do is, I usually like to go in with the eye of the hook into the skirt side, and there's a hollow section right in the middle. So we put the eye in and then carefully slide the weight in, and then without ripping the rubber, and then we put our thumb over the eye of the hook and pop it right through, and it looks just like that. And these Spartan minnows use a ball head, and usually I want the hook to come out of the spine, which is the flat part of the back, and then the rounded part would be the fish's belly, right? So what I do is I start with the nose and push it up towards just going around the hook, trying to keep it as straight as possible. And then as it's going around the bend, I pop that point of the hook right out of the spine and make sure it's as straight as it can be, and it looks just like that. And it's just that simple.
All right, now I want to talk real briefly on exactly how I was working these baits back to catch these fish. And it was very interesting because the fish would bite for a while and then turn off. And we'd have to switch tactics and get to a new presentation, and then we start getting bit again. And then they get tired of that and go to something else. So we went through a wide variety of baits, like I showed you, and techniques. Now, the first one is your standard when you're fishing 1/16 ounce mini jig or minnow. Fish them exactly the same. I would just cast out, wouldn't let it sink at all, because we're in fairly deep water here. We're sitting right in front of a drop off. And I would just work it back real slow, real cranks like you see here, and just light bounces, and just continue that process until I hook up or feel something. No pauses, nothing like that. Mainly just because, I don't know if it's me, but with 16th ounce stuff, minnows or mini jigs, doing pauses usually doesn't work for me. So I just do a straight retrieve, just real slow, real cranks, and real light bounces on the rod, and just continue on that process. Even if I get bit and I miss it, I just go right back to that format and keep going, because lots of times you'll get bit 3 and 4 times before you finally hook up. So you get bit and you miss it, don't give up. Just keep doing what you're doing. The fish will still chase it most of the time. I'd say probably 60 to 70% of the time you'll get some follow-up bites.
60% of the time, it works every time.
The next technique, once they got tired of that, I switched to a 32nd ounce ball head and a minnow, and then started doing pauses, and they really like the pauses. So I'd cast out, let it sink a little bit because it's a much lighter bait, and do real light bounces, really slow reel cranks, and then stop for a second, and then start up again. Same thing, real slow reel cranks, real light bounces, and give it a pause. And almost every time they were hitting on the pause, and that was really successful for a while. Then they got tired of that.
You serious?
So I decided, like, hey, well, why don't I put on a bobber and a 32nd ounce minnow on a ball head? Because that way I could go even slower. And maybe that's what they really want, that real slow fall in the water. Because with the bobber and the May jig, or minnow, if you have the bobber up here, you usually do about a 5-foot leader. And what happens is when you pop the rod tip a few times, it moves this bobber on the top of the water, and then this minnow comes up, and then when you stop, it slowly falls. And that's 90% of the time when they're hitting it. Because what they do is they see this thing flutter up, and it makes, reflects in the water, because this one's kind of bright and shiny, and they see it, and then they see it start to fall. They detect that it's kind of weak, it's a weak bait fish, and they go in and smack it. So how you fish it is usually 2 or 3 rod pops up, and then all you do is reel in your slack. Because when you're using this technique, the hardest thing is to manage your slack. If you don't have your slack in, the fish are going to bite it real quick. That bobber is going to go down just for a second, and you have about that much time to set the hook. And if you don't set the hook, you're going to miss the fish every time. So that's probably the hardest thing with this technique, is managing your reel slack. So as you see in this clip, I'm popping the rod, and then I stop and I crank in the slack, and I'm cranking in enough line, but too little line to make the bobber move. I don't want the bobber to keep moving. I want it to stay still, because it's going to pop that minnow back up, right? So I just pop it up 2 or 3 times, give it a full reel crank or a reel crank and a half, just get that slack in, and watch the bobber. And as you can see here, I eventually hook up. The trick here with this one, though, is the wind was pretty significant, and it was blowing at us, towards us, so it's creating a lot of waves, and it was a much faster presentation than you would normally do with the bobber, just because of the wind and the surf coming towards us. It was bringing the bait closer and closer to me without reeling, so it was much harder to manage my slack. So it's going to look a little bit faster than normal, but as you can see, it was working. I was still able to manage to get fish, even though I was going a little bit faster than normal. Now let's get back to the video and see how the rest of the day shook out.
Oh, right over here. Right to the left of me. Yep. See him? All right in front of you. It's all right here. Yeah. Oh, there we go. That ghost shrimp. A decent sized one. Yeah. Ghost shrimp. Real nice fish. On a mice tail? Ah, nice. Oh yeah? I'm coming. Yeah, it's a big Mac. Nice little Mac. Yep. Nice one. Yeah. Yeah, I heard him pull and drag. Yeah. Got a double. Yeah, mine's decent. That pretty one. Really good looking fish.
All right, ladies and gents, there you have it. Great time up at Caples. That lake is gorgeous, as you could probably see in the video. I mean, just unbelievably beautiful lake. Real clear water, all the boulders and all that. It's breathtaking to be out there and fish. And the lake is known for having a lot of trophy Mackinaw and brown trout. And that's really what we were targeting, doing the vertical jigging and all that. And we saw several contacts on the bottom, and that's how what Mark hooked up. He hooked up a nice sized brown. It just came off the hooks. We're using barbless hooks at the end there. But we're at about 30 feet of water, just vertical jigging them super tubes. And SD hooked up a couple times, but couldn't keep them on. And I had a few. I could see them on the fish finder would come up off the bottom to look at my jig, but just weren't interested. And we talked around to some of the locals and stuff, and they said the bite had been off for a couple weeks. So it was real tough. So we ended up, just switching over, and we made do with the rainbows, which was real fun. And we got a ton of fish, just not a lot of big ones. I mean, Esty got that real nice one, but that was the biggest one out of all of us. But it was still a blast catching those numbers and having to change on the fly as their tastes change throughout the day. So it was real interesting in that aspect, as we got to catch fish in a variety of different ways. And where we stayed was at the Caples Lake Resort, right there on the water. Really, really nice place. It's family owned and operated. They have a restaurant that's either like a 4 or 5 star restaurant. We ate there the last night. Really, really good food. Really nice, especially for being out in the middle of nowhere. We were surprised. It was really good food there. And then the cabins are right on the water. Like in this shot, this is essentially in the backyard of our cabin. We were just able to dock our kayaks right there in the back and walk up to the cabin and have lunch every day. So really, really cool place. If you're up there and going to stay up there, I highly recommend Caples Lake Resort. Really nice place to stay, and the views are just unbelievable. And if you're fishing, you're right there. You will get out of the cabin and it steps to the water, and you can make a cast or get in your boat and take off. It's awesome, and we will definitely be back. If you want any of the fine products I use on this channel, the QR code right up here. If you want the Golden State Fishing custom baits, the katana rods, the True Dave waders, the high sea waders, the Waterland sunglasses, just click on this QR code and it'll take you to a link tree, which has all the websites and hyperlinks, including the discount codes right in there. So if you want to purchase anything, you'll get a discount on just about everything you purchase. Big announcement though with the katana rods. The katana rods are in. The new rods are in. Split grip rods are coming. Got that officially from Esty the other day. And on top of that, the katana rods are now available on the Golden State Fishing website. So you don't have to contact anybody on Instagram anymore. Go straight to the Golden State Fishing website, and the katana rods are right on there for you to purchase. So it's going to be a lot easier to get your rod if you want one. And one quick note, my discount code does not cover the rods, just the baits and the tackle, not the rods. So, but if you want a katana, go on Golden State Fishing website, and you can click right on there and put it in your basket and get it sent out to you. So really cool we got to that point. So really excited. And like I said, the split grip rods are coming soon. So there's going to be plenty of rods for everybody very soon. And as always, if you like what you saw here, leave us a like and a subscribe. Really helps out the channel and doesn't cost you a thing. If you didn't like what you saw and you made it this far, I appreciate you watching anyway. If you ever have any questions or comments, please leave them here. You can also contact me on my Instagram at Sea Spanker Outdoors. And with that, I hope to see you guys out there soon, and tie lines.